So the US Olympic Marathon Trials is definitely the Super Bowl of US marathoning. Every Olympic year, the best American runners train really hard to get into this event. To qualify for the trials, men had to run 2:19 marathon or 1:04 half marathon, and 2:45 marathon or 1:13 half marathon for women. Based on the track and field list, there are 260 men and 511 women qualified this year. So it's actually more qualifiers than last year. And this year's trials is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia on February 29. It's going to be a multi-loop course, has an elevation gain and loss of 1,389 feet. They actually said that this course is going to be hillier compared to Boston Marathon. The start time for men is 12:03 p.m. and it's going to be 12:15 p.m. for women. So the weather is definitely going to be a factor in this race. There will be prize money for top 10 finishers, and top 3 finishers, men and women, will punch their ticket to represent US at the Tokyo Olympics. So my first pick is Jim Walmsley. Jim Walmsley, also known as the Ultra Running King. Of course, ultra running is so much different than road marathon, but why I think that Jim Walmsley has a chance to make the Olympic team, it's because of his recent road performances. He broke the 50-mile world record recently in 4 hours, 50 minutes, and 51 seconds. So that's actually about like 5:48 per mile pace. So Jim definitely has a really solid endurance. And not only that, he ran 1:04 at the Houston Half Marathon to qualify for the trials. He intentionally picked the more difficult route to qualify for the trials because he said that he really wants to contend for the podium and make the Olympic team. Based on Let's Run podcast, he said that he is in 2:10 marathon shape right now. And lastly, Jim can run very well in heat. During that Western States 100, the temperature was rising up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but Jim actually still managed to break the course record by a really huge margin. So Jim is gonna be a really tough competitor. My second pick is Parker Stinson. I started following Parker Stinson since 2018 Chicago Marathon, and since then Parker just keeps improving. Even though 2018 Chicago Marathon was not his best race, but Parker bounced back pretty quickly. Last year at Chicago Marathon, Parker finally broke 2:11, which is actually his lifetime goal. And not only that, he set the 25K American record in the same year. And based on his Instagram post, that he said that the training is going very well and is ready to chase his American dream. So compared to Jim and Parker, I think Scott Fauble actually has a greater chance to make the Olympic team. Scott Fauble is really experienced marathoner. He ran Chicago, Boston, and New York. The two of his best performances were actually ran on like hilly marathons. He finished 6th place and 2nd American at New York City Marathon. And also this year, he broke 2:10 at Boston Marathon and he was the top American. Based on what he said recently, that his fitness is also going very well, and he thinks that he can even win the Olympic trials. My first pick is Emily Sisson. Emily Sisson has a 30-minute 10K PB and finished both second places at New York City Half Marathon. Actually, her last half marathon was only 5 seconds off the American record. And she also holds the second fastest marathon debut by an American behind Jordan Hasay. So Emily Sisson has the endurance, the strength, and she also has the finishing kick at the end of the marathon. My second pick is Molly Huddle. Molly Huddle holds the 10K American record, the half marathon American record, and she also performed really well at New York City Marathon, and I think she finished at 2 hours and 26 minutes. So Molly Huddle can run very well on hills. Actually, Molly Huddle and Emily Sisson are actually training partners, and I would probably say that they have like almost the same strength. But Molly Huddle actually has a little edge compared to Emily Sisson. I think it's because she has more experience. I would say that's definitely a big advantage. My third pick is Sarah Hall. Sarah Hall is also a really consistent marathoner. Even though she did not really contend very well at Boston Marathon, she finished like 15th place overall and top 6 American, but she actually really bounced back pretty quickly. She ran really fast at Berlin Marathon this year. She clocked 2 hours and 22 minutes. To be honest, I was choosing between her actually and Kellen Taylor, but it's because of like her recent performance. That's why I actually picked her, and that actually makes her the 6th fastest American in the history and also in the field. So my first pick is Jared Ward. Jared Ward is a very experienced marathoner and also a very smart racer. I would probably say that he is probably the guy that never had a bad marathon. He finished 3rd at LA Marathon overall, finished 3rd at the Olympic trials last year, and he also finished 5th at Rio Olympics. And these races are actually really hot and humid. And also ran New York City Marathon, finished 5th overall, and he was the top American. And also last year, he also broke 2:10 at Boston Marathon. So Jared Ward is definitely a really tough contender. He can run in heat and he can also run on hills as well. And my last pick is Galen Rupp. Galen Rupp holds multiple American records, and Galen Rupp really knows how to run a marathon. He won the trials last year in his debut marathon, finished 2nd place at Boston on his I think that was his 2nd race, and 3rd in Rio Olympics, and won Chicago Marathon, and also won Prague Marathon in 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 17 seconds. Actually makes him the fastest in the field. I know that Galen Rupp actually had a surgery, I think that was last year, and it took like about 6 or 8 months off from racing because of course of the surgery. But just actually 3 weeks out of the trials, Galen Rupp raced a half marathon and actually won it. So Galen Rupp is definitely ready, and I think he's really in great shape right now. First pick is Desi Linden. Desi Linden is like very experienced marathoner. She finished 5th at New York City Marathon last year, 2nd place at Boston Marathon, and also won Boston Marathon last year. She also made the Olympic team, I think, about 3 times. She really knows how to run the marathon. My last pick is Jordan Hesse. Jordan Hesse is probably the hardest competitor to beat. Coming back from injury last year, she performed at a really high level at Boston Marathon, finishing 3rd place overall. And she also holds the fastest marathon debut by an American, and that also makes her the fastest in the field. So she can run on hills, and she's also very fast. I would say that's actually a very solid strength for the marathon. I know that there are more dark horses and contenders, but the reason why I chose them is because I know them very well compared to other competitors, and based on their recent achievements and their strengths, I think that they actually really have a chance to make the Olympic team. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and feel free to leave your comment. I'd really love to hear your thoughts about this video. Thank you guys, and I'll see you all in the next episode.